We're here with Travis Vaughn from Upward Sports. Travis, you guys help churches leverage sports to connect with families and local communities. Can you take a second and give the audience a little background on Upward and what the strategy is behind it?
Yeah, we equip churches to run sports programming in their community. And so we've been doing that for 30 years as of last fall. The organization was birthed out of a church here in upstate South Carolina and saw rapid growth from its late 90s years until about 2010 was probably our peak there. From there, we stabilized or even declined at times from 2010 to 2020, but have seen a real resurgence post COVID after we made some changes there as an organization where really we used to sell a league in a box, I would say. And you could buy the box or not buy the box, but it was the only box we had to sell and you couldn't change anything in it. But now, after doing some smart research, I think, and really listening to our customers, we understand that every church is unique, every community is unique, and we build custom solutions for each one of these churches across the country. So currently, about 1,500 churches around the country utilize Upward Sports in 47 different states, and that equates to about 225,000 kids playing in our leagues each and every year.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of research. I live in Philadelphia now, but I'm from Lansdale. You guys got a church in Lansdale. You got one out in South Jersey as well. So I'm surrounded by a couple of upward churches and everything. 1,500, man. That's a lot all over the country. I was gonna wait to talk about this question, but you led me right into it. So let's just get into it. I think, and I think you probably know this more than anybody, religion is pretty cyclical. Sometimes there's good generations, sometimes there's bad generations. Obviously, if you guys ebbed and flowed, declined and advanced, like you understand that. But I feel like currently faith is making a comeback with younger people. The scale right now, does it come more from the new church partners you guys find? Or is there still like a deeper engagement within the existing ones that you've had for maybe 20, 30 plus years?
It's a really good question. I was just reviewing some statistics this morning that talked about, how churches in America, this is talking about the big church across all denominations, that kind of thing, still being largely propped up by the baby boomer uh, generation, and how Generation X and millennials are coming in at a lower rate than the baby boomers ever did. And there's going to be a cliff at one point in time when the baby boomers are dying off, essentially, and what will
Yeah,
happen.
you could say that a lot about a lot of industries. I feel like right
Yep.
now.
I mean, think about the wealth in America that will
Yeah.
transfer at the moment
Yep.
that that generation is no longer here. And so that it's no different with churches. I would say um, there's less Christian churches in America than there's been in modern history, no doubt about it. But when churches think about how do we do outreach to our community, how do we reach younger families, how do we engage people where they are, and give what strategies can we have to open up opportunities just for conversation, just so we can invite them to something else. Sports is the best way to do that. Anyone can engage and gather around a ball to play. And when you look at what our churches do really, really well, is they run, in most cases, really high quality leagues, and they're recreational, no doubt about it. They're entry level for the most part, very elementary age. It would be the heavy emphasis, although we go through 12th grade if a church wants to take on those type of age groups. But we find that it's a lot of these churches that are looking to revitalize their church or get younger, or they just really care about sharing the gospel in their community and reaching out to others. And so they're looking for strategies to do that. And those are the people that are coming to Upward Sports to engage us. And so we have about 4 churches that are what were a part of the year one. They've been with us 30 years. We have some that's been there all along. We have a crop that we try to recognize when they hit 20 years and things like that. We have some that have been there a long time, but We signed 292 new churches last year alone, and not all of those work out. With any sports league, the first year running the league is the hardest one. You're trying to get into a community that might already have that sport, maybe already have leagues running. And so if you can get it off the ground and have sustainable first year league, then you got a good chance of having a year 2, 3, 4, etc. But you know, we are seeing more churches partner with Upward than at any other time in our history, and that's an exciting time to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're really bullish on rec. Professionalized rec is what we call it. I9 Sports, we've talked to before, a place up in Canada called Sport Ball, who's coming out to this to the US now, who's making some inroads there and everything. What's your what's your strategy typically, if you can expand on that more? I know you talked about it, but what's your strategy typically when someone does set up that call and they're like, "Hey, let's see what Upward Sports can do for me." And then I'll make it a two-parter for you. When you guys do get into the church, how involved are you guys? Is it just the space that's leased out to you? Are you operating the church too? Hell, are you going to Sundays if it's around the corner from you and stuff? I'd love to know how you guys have that operational
Yeah.
approach.
So when they engage us, like we've done some marketing, they've encountered our name and our brand somewhere, and they reach out to us and they go, "Hey, we would be interested in doing this." We have a team of essentially sales reps that will research the area, research the communities, but have an initial call with that church and sometimes the staff that's on the church. About 50% of our leaders, I'm generalizing the numbers a bit here, but about 50% of them are on staff at a church, and about 50% of them are just lay people, meaning people in the church that have full-time jobs otherwise, that are doing this as their passion project, as their outreach for their own personal faith and trying to reach other people in the community. And so they take on the leadership of these leagues in addition to whatever they're normally doing on the day-to-day basis. So that rep that's going to work with them is really going to try to understand and do a needs analysis of, like, what are you trying to accomplish through this? Is this a short form camp, or do you want a full league experience? If you want a full league experience, what other sports are being played in the area? Where are there opportunities for you to maybe make an impact? Do you have a field, or do you have a court? What does that look like? I would say that Upward Sports, maybe, I don't know this as an exact thing, maybe you might know more than I actually on this one, but I think we're probably the largest recreation basketball company in the country. About 150,000 kids play Upward Sports basketball alone on a yearly basis. I don't know that there's another organization that has that kind of reach in basketball. One of the great advantages that we have over almost anyone else when it comes to recreation sports, specifically basketball, is gyms on campus at churches. So you don't have to go find that gym. I go to all these conferences around the country and people say, we need more fields, we need more gyms. Like, actually, our churches have a lot of those things already, and are
Yes.
able to utilize those things at no cost to them in most cases. So, it's a full analysis and review of what would be best for that church and that community. And from there, and this kind of goes to the next part of your question, we see ourselves as the equipping organization, but it is the church's league that is actually running it. They own it, they run it, but we provide them essentially everything except for the place to play and the people to run the league. Everything else is on them to run it. So everything from training that director to run a high quality, first class, detail organized sports league, to the ministry content that they would want to provide, that we provide as well, to sport content like practice plans and skills and drills videos and teaching of coaches of how to teach the sport as you go through each one of these. We have a registration platform, a league management platform, a coach app, team pages, all that we've custom built for our stuff over the years. Then we have what I think is probably the best supply chain in the industry as far as the way we do uniforming and other products, where everything flows through our system. It gets picked, packed, and shipped by league order, which gets boxed by team, which gets boxed by player. So if you, Kyle, are the coach of the Tigers, as an example, and I'm the league director, and I go and I grab my Tigers box that says Kyle on it, and I go and I hand it to you. I don't even have to look at it. I hand it to you. You open it up. You open it up at practice. You hand it out. It's this Christmas morning type experience that they're getting. Each one of those players where they're seeing their items and all those types of things, and that's really been a difference maker for us for a long time. So that's what we provide as an organization.
So you got a whole vertically integrated business.
Yeah, soup to nuts. I would say
Wow.
everything that a church could possibly need to run a sports experience. We've done it, we've built it, and we continue. We have great feedback loops to be able to learn what else is needed, and we're always looking to innovate further.
Now, I didn't have this question, but I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't know if you had a team management platform or not. But I mean, you were at the conference. You know, we had the tech heavy hitters, all the biggest management platforms. But I love finding out about these other organizations or companies that have their own team management platform. How many people do you have on that team, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, we probably have 6 full time, and then probably about the same amount as far as full time contractors. But there's a host of other people that we've used over the years that like working with us that will pull in on a project basis as needed.
Gotcha, like freelancers and stuff. Yeah, yeah. The reason I ask is because like AI is just it sounds like it would be a great tool for your organization because now what maybe you got to bring on 6 full-time guys and 15 freelancers. Now it's just, hey, these 6 full-time guys, we have them, making new features, updating the comms, updating the media, updating the infrastructure, all that stuff and everything. So talk about a little bit how you guys are utilizing AI over there and how much it has been, you know, good, bad, cost effective, not cost effective. I'd love to just kind of peel back the layers a little
Yeah,
bit on
great,
that.
great question, because that different parts of the business uses it different ways. So in content creation, um, I'm going to be very careful. We're a ministry, and so we do not allow AI to write any ministry content that we feel like is God inspired. And we have talented writers that are involved with those things all the time and are researching biblical texts to make sure that they're writing things that would flow there. Although I'm sure an AI could probably mimic a lot of that pretty
Yeah,
well, no doubt.
that's a slippery slope. I think you guys are taking it a smart approach
Yeah.
to that. So I definitely understand that.
So there's different places that we would utilize it for individual roles, but as it relates to IT, what that does when you have a senior level developer who is also using some type of AI tools and agents along with them, it just makes someone be able to work a lot more quicker and more effectively to code or develop things, um, with what they're currently working on. So at times we have wondered, like, and hey, I've talked with league apps at your conference. Some of those folks there. We'll continue to have conversations with them. We've talked with Playmetrics recently, and we'll continue to have conversations with them. We're open to the possibility that at some point in time, it might not make sense for us to continue to be the sole provider of these systems. If you take like a league apps and they have 50 developers all with AI agents working with them, I mean, it's just more than what we could ever provide as an organization. To date, what I find, because I lead our market research department amongst a couple other things, is we we aren't being asked to do things that we can't do or can't do pretty quickly from a development standpoint. There's a lot of features out there that are nice to have, or that they're nice bells and whistles. But would anybody ever use them? Is it practical to use in a recreation setting? Are those things better suited for the high school player or the big time recruit out there that's trying to put their name and their highlights together or things like that? I think when we think about it, we try to look at it from a persona based approach and say, what would our league directors need? What would our coaches need? What would our referees need? What do the parents need? And if we're not trying to gold plate all these things to the point that it's more than they would ever need. And so that's how we look at that. But it's a constant review of what is available and what we're offering. And we're not ever going to be at a place, I think, to say we can only do it this way because this is how we built it over so many years. I think it'd be unwise to do that. I'll give you an example. Back in 2018, I started a project where we had our own distribution center. We would procure products and apparel overseas, and we would bring it all into our own distribution center, and we'd pick, pack, and ship all those things. And so we probably had 15 people on staff full time with up to 60 temps working in the DC during basketball season when all those orders are coming in at the same time. Right now, we got 3 people in supply chain. It's because we offloaded that to an apparel vendor who pick, packs, and ships all those things. And so that supply chain role is significantly different than it was, just 8 years ago. So we're willing to change and adapt and do what's best, as long as it's the best thing that we can for our church partners that are out there, and the best thing that we can for the ministry that we're trying to steward here.
I know you mentioned the 150,000 person athlete basketball league. What's the rough estimate of the amount of athletes that you guys serve yearly, annually?
It's about 225,000 in total. I think we'll be a little over that this year, but yeah, we've had 4 straight full years of growth. This looks to be our 5th consecutive one this year as we're working through it now.
Congratulations. Market research. I do want to ask you, where's the big region for you guys in the country that you guys see the most growth or most churches that you guys have?
Yeah, the Bible Belt is always going to be the strongest of it.
I didn't want to assume,
but if I were to look at who our top partners are, top states are, Texas is number 1 for sure. I would say Ohio, Georgia, Florida, probably the next 3. Indiana, a really strong state for us as well. So, like, headquarters is in South Carolina. That might be 20th on the list, when it comes down to it. But some of that's about population, and some of it's about where are the churches and the denominations that we work really well with.
I've been down to Clemson before. I think it's a church on every corner.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Clemson's about an hour from us, and I'm a big Clemson fan myself. Yeah.
Gotcha. Tell me if I have part of your strategy or your strategy correct over at Upwards. I'm going to compare it to brand partnerships. You see it a lot. A brand goes to a tournament because it wants to get in front of kids at an early age. Let's use like a Chase Bank. So they sign up the kid for a bank account, and now maybe they become a customer for life. Is that kind of the same strategy you guys use at Upward, where it's like, hey, instead of a bank, let's get faith in front of the kid really early, in front of the athlete really early. Now they may be Christians longer or for the rest of their life in the future. Do I kind of have it nail on the head?
I think that's a fair assessment or parallel to what we're trying to do. And it's not just the athlete, it's the family that's involved as well. And so we know that each kid that comes to play in our league is going to bring about 3 adults with them on game day. And so that gives the opportunity for that church to not only share the gospel directly with that player, but to be a welcoming church to that family, which might include parents, siblings, grandparents, all the like, as part of the full game day experience. A lot of churches out there have an outreach strategy that might be something like an Easter egg hunt or a Halloween trunk or treat or something like that. Those experiences are 1-day events. The great thing about sports is for us, most of our churches go with 1 practice a week and 1 game day a week. And so if you look over a 12-week season, that's 24 plus experiences that you're going to have to reach out to that family. And so, I know most of the people that probably listen to this are all in on sports. And I would say that we really train that if you want to do the things you want to do from a church standpoint, you have to start with a really high quality sports experience itself. That can't be secondary. It has to be the primary thing. Because if you don't, they'll never come back again. They'll go to another league. you'll never see them again, or you'll even have a bad taste in their mouth about the
Yeah.
experience, the communication, the making the kid feel special, the sports experience that they're having at practices and in games. All that has to be really high quality.
They might go to another Upward church.
Sure, they could, yeah,
Yeah.
which would be fine. But
Yeah, which would be good for you
I
guys.
kind of think that they might, check out one of the other recreation providers that are out there.
Yeah, 100%. You touched on it a little bit. You emphasize experience over winning over there. I don't want to call you guys non-traditional, but are you doing anything else that might be non-traditional, like no keeping score, no trophies, etc.? Anything that's maybe separates you guys from the local rec league in town?
I would think it's pretty similar to the local entry level rec league out there. We leave some of those decisions around keeping score up to the individual league that's creating that experience. I think our curriculum would say, hey, at kindergarten level, something like that, like, is it needed and necessary? But beyond that, it's a sports experience. You should be keeping score and seeing who wins and keep standings and all of those things. That's a part of it. I'd say, like in there's certain aspects to it. In basketball, we promote a man-to-man experience out there, so that it's just a better experience for younger athletes. If you just compact everybody in the lane, no one's ever getting a shot off. So
Travis, I love that.
yeah,
I love that.
we have things like matchup straps. So you might put on a wristband, and the red guards red, blue guards blue, orange guards orange,
Oh.
that type of thing. And then when we do a substitution, all right, everybody, all right, we got a red, we got an orange, we got a blue, we got those types of things. And then the referees should call it in a way that it's a man-to-man experience, which makes it, one, better to watch. For me, the parent, that's where I'm at right now. Like, it's a better experience to watch, it's a better experience to play, better experience to coach, and the skill development will be better because you just don't have the kid shooting from 16 feet out because he's got the strength to. You got all kids that can be more involved with it. So I'd say there's probably little aspects like that within our program and where we've thought about the experience and what's best for the kid, but it's hard to think about what all those are in each individual sport.
Listen, I love a 2-3 zone as much as the next guy, but like we need to introduce man-to-man principles to our children because there is an epidemic not only in the youth side, but you get a run in on a Sunday with your buddies or an adult league, too much zone being played in pickup right now. So we do gotta.
Yeah.
I like what you guys are doing over there, so I appreciate that. Um, Sports you guys are offering: basketball, soccer, cheerleading, flag football, volleyball, baseball, softball, pickleball. It says new. I don't know how long you've been introducing it, but I love that. I'm a big time pickleball player. Huge bullish on flag football. What kind of sports? Obviously, basketball seems to be kind of the tent pole at Upward. What sports do you see kind of potentially leading the future or that have some exponential growth?
Yep. So basketball, soccer, and flag football, I would call our legacy sports. All of those were introduced 2005 or prior for us as an organization. Volleyball was introduced 21, 22, post COVID, and it's grown tremendously for us since then. It may actually catch flag football as far as participation goes for us in the next few years. Now, flag football, we're riding kind of the wave that everyone's riding on flag football right now, where I think we've got something like 13% more leagues created this year over last year in that sport alone. And so therefore volleyball might not actually catch it. But I've been real pleased with the progress of volleyball, specifically like the 4th through 8th grade age ranges for us. We see about 4th grade as being the youngest that you can play the sport in a way where you can get it up and over the net and actually have a little back and forth between teams. And then once you get beyond 8th grade, like the club ball and the school ball is going to take over so much. It's not that we say that you got to stop by then, but it's just a natural place where our programming kind of has slowed down recently. So that's a sport that really I've seen growth because of the newness of it, and I'm real pleased with that. And then pickleball, we just introduced last year for youth, and and over 60 uh, different churches has picked that up in the first year. We haven't even completed the first year here yet, and so the returns on that seems to be pretty good. As for, again, go back to the facilities standpoint, both volleyball and pickleball have something in common. They're indoor sports that, for our churches, many of them already have a gym type setting. And so if they're looking for some way to connect with their community outside of basketball season, those are good natural places to do that.
Shorter net. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Take the net down, put it right on the big. I like that. Are there franchising opportunities?
There is not today,
Okay.
and really nothing on the roadmap on that, but I'm intrigued by the idea of thinking about things like that in the future. Yeah, I would say it's an innovation idea of mine,
Mhm.
or some form of that in the future. I think would be interesting. So today we just work directly with churches, and that's all we do today. But I think that, other 501c3s that we might could work with, or a franchise, nonprofit franchise or something like that in the future, could be an interesting way of looking at growth. But yeah, nothing like that today.
Um, are you okay with digging into the business model a little bit from like the space and everything from like how you guys, like walk me through it a little bit where it's like you lease the space. Am I correct there?
No, churches own the
Huh?
space. It's their league, and so they have access to their own space essentially. Now, I'll say, not every church has facilities. One of my favorite leaders, not too far from you, in Townsend, Delaware, which is about mid-state Delaware. Um, uh, the leader there, I couldn't believe the first time I pulled into his parking lot to go visit him. It's a smallish little church. I'm like, this is the church that's got 500 basketball players in the league. Like, what are we talking about? But he does a really good job of utilizing a lot of the schools in the area and their gymnasiums for their basketball league. So there are exceptions to, like, the church who owns the gym, who plays in the gym. If you're not going to be that, then you need to be a good connector in the community. Sometimes you got to rent those out. Sometimes you've got good partnerships with local municipalities or school districts or things like that to be able to get those things.
Your business and how you speak about it reminds me a lot of Dan Himmel. I don't know if you were said on the pod. He was a middle school matchup. He talked on
I do
professionalized rec, I
recall, yeah,
believe.
him. It's Texas,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Mhm.
Texas. Yeah, yeah. And he's got places all over Ohio as well. South Jersey actually has right here, but mostly Houston. I think is his big property and everything. But he talks about it being like it's kind of like he does franchising opportunities, and it really depends on how how good you are in the community. Like how now, I don't want to say vocal is not the right word, but if you're a pillar of the community and you have kind of those ties to baseball, it'll be very easy to get 10, 12, 15 kids to play on your middle school matchup team to go play the 10, 12, 15 kids on the other side. And then you get 10, 12 teams that are playing in a tournament, through one weekend in the summer. It seems like it's the same way with you. If the parish has good leaders, good volunteers that are pillars of the community, you should probably thrive with upwards help. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah. What we're talking about here is, everything rises and falls on leadership, and so leadership comes in different forms. But if you're a great connector, if you're great at, like, I know this person, and I know this person, and I can get these two people together, and you can work those things out, then those are the people that are going to be the best success. Think of, in the opportunity that you talked about with the guy out in Texas. Those are individual teams, and it's a smallish type situation. But when you're putting together, say, a basketball league, there's a bunch of coaches that you need, there's a bunch of referees that you need people to open up the gym, you need people to clean up the gym afterwards. Being a great connector at the church, and even with the parents that are involved with the league and that kind of thing, is so key to be able to run a largest, sports experience there, because there's a lot of different roles. You, the leader, can't do it all. And so I think it's about connecting and, finding those people that will come along in the journey with you.
And then just because we got off the topic, but I want to go back to it for a second. Back to the business model. So you don't lease the space. You don't. It's the church's league, and then I guess the church then um, pays upward to lease the platform, registration fees, jerseys, all that stuff. Do I have that correct?
You do. So we are one of the super rare nonprofits out there that takes no donations. We don't have a foundation. We take no large donations or anything like that. What we do, and it works because of the scale that we have, but what we do is we procure the items at the lower cost as we can, um, and then we sell it to the church as if they're almost like a reseller, so at a very low cost, as low as we can go on those things as well. And then we do have a base fee that's a per participant fee that we have built in that does a lot of things like the utilization of our systems, credit card fees, shipping's included, use of our brand, all the curriculum that we build out there, the expertise that we have on staff that can help guide you through situations. Like all of that is some of the features that we would, tout as why you are paying that base fee there.
So the curriculum, I gotta imagine. I mean, you're getting anywhere from Catholicism to Baptist to non-denominational Christian. So do you just have a staff full of people who are just like majored in uh
Yeah.
theology and stuff? Like, I guess you have a Rolodex full of people with different denominations that they can do the
It's a little bit
curriculum.
it's a little bit scaled back from where you're thinking on there. So
Okay. Okay.
we have staff members that are our curriculum writers, and they are trying to thread the needle with the curriculum that they're talking about concepts or parts of the biblical teachings that everyone can agree on, and they're staying away from the fringe things that people like to argue about, which is why all these denominations exist today, because people
Yeah.
couldn't come to agreement on something, so they left and started something else. So they're trying to
That's why
thread.
they say you don't Yeah, that's why they say you don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner
That's
table,
right.
so I'm glad you guys were able to thread that
So
needle.
we're,
Alright.
we're keeping it a little bit more basic than what would it would. There's the Bible's a big enough and large enough text that that you can work your way through that without getting into a lot of those touchy points there. And then what we do is we have a panel of pastors or bishops or leaders at churches that will review those writings before they go out for any particular product year and kind of give their check mark of like, I am a Methodist pastor, as an example, and I've read through all of these, and none of this would go against the teachings of our church. And then we'll take it to a Baptist one, and we'll take it to an Episcopal one, and we'll take it to um, a Nazarene church or something like that. And we do that on a yearly basis just to make sure that there isn't a blind spot somewhere where unintentionally we have gone against some of the teachings that they might have about that specific denomination. But by and large, it's not been a problem for us.
Do people who might believe in a different denomination ever play like I'm talking about an athlete or a family, do they ever play in a league of another church denomination? Does that make
Great
sense?
question. Um, and it happens all the time. I'll give you the exact number. We ask when you register, are you a part of a church in your community? And so across the country, across the 225,000 kids that played last year, 51%, exactly 51%, were completely unchurched. That means 50% came from all kinds of different denominations, the denomination of the church that's putting it on, and others, and even other spiritual beliefs. Uh, Islam and Jewish and those types of things. All those type of people participate in our leagues. Like in the end, if you're a parent, you know, there's nothing wrong with your kid learning about perseverance out there and what the Bible says about perseverance in a quick lesson there. Like there's only benefit that can probably come from that type of teaching anyway. Like a lot of other sports organizations do character-based lessons. We take it one step further and we add the biblical context of why that's a important thing for you in your life. And so I would say that yes, all the time people are a part of other religions, or they're completely agnostic and they're not a part of any type of religion out there, or they're a part of different denominations than the church they're playing in there today.
I love that, bringing people together, with differences might be the wrong word, but like differences and, different people in the community, different thoughts and beliefs and stuff. I think that's amazing. I think that's something, in nowadays society is something that we really need. Um, 51% did not have a church.
Correct.
That seems like a nice a good number for Upward
Yep.
Sports and a good talking point for a lot of leaders
That's
around
why we do what
around
we
the
do.
country.
That's why the churches do what they do. You know, there are other church leagues out there that have, you know, this church plays this church, who plays this church, and it's all church kids. It's a part of it. And I think there's value in
That's
that.
how
I
that's
played
how I grew up. CYO.
yeah, I played in those type of leagues when I was growing up. Upward's a little bit different where it's meant to be a community outreach from a church who's putting this on. And at times we can have partnership churches that come together and do this together in an area. But by and large, the idea is let's have a really high quality league out here. Let's put it on as a church and let's reach out to those that are around us.
So you said you don't take donations. One of if the only nonprofit that does sponsorship. On the other hand, do you see a lot of sponsors come in? I mean, 250,000 kids bring two parents. That's three-quarters of a million eyeballs. Well, that might be actually 1.5 million eyeballs. Um, Sponsorship opportunities for subsidizing registration fees, jerseys, or just sponsoring in general. Do you guys do it over at Upward?
We have not. I wanted to move this direction a few years ago, and our leadership team at the time felt like we wanted to chase other priorities at the time and didn't take that on. In recent months, this has came back up, and I think there is more of an appetite to pursue some of these in the future. In fact, I made a couple connections at your conference that might lead to a couple of conversations and see where that might goes. To date, we have not done any of that, and it is a delicate line to walk as it relates to us versus our church partners out there, because ultimately it's their league, it's not our league. So we're not the governing body, we are not the ones putting it on. But I, like you, as you stated in your question, would love to find out ways that we can drive down costs and open up more opportunities for more kids to play, and open up more chances for leagues to pay high quality refs and things like that, because there's more money to go into these types of things. So I am interested in this subject, but to date we're not doing anything.
Nice. No, awesome. I mean, I think it's great that you guys are even having conversations about it. What does a typical league, let's say, do you have a framework of a number? Maybe it's case by case basis with sport. What's typically registration costs look like?
Varies widely across the country. The church determines their registration cost when they are setting up the program. So we give them, as they build their package of things that they want to have as part of their league, meaning, we offer multiple types of jersey options, everything from a t-shirt to fully customized, sublimated, reversible, uniform and shorts. Like the spectrum is pretty large there. And the reason is they are competing with other sports organizations in their community. And sometimes it's about keeping the costs as low as they can so that kids can play in a rural setting or something like that. But in other times, it's a suburb of Philadelphia where you are, and they need to have a very high quality product. And they need to look around. One of the things we instruct our churches to do is like, hey, look around and see what the other registration fees are going to be. If all the registrations in that community are $175 to play basketball, for example, and you come in at 75, then people are going to say, well, I'm getting a $75 experience, and they're not going to have they're going to have low expectations, low commitment, that type of thing. So in that setting, I would say, I would instruct a church to say, well, let's look at if the mean there is 175 as far as sports experiences, could you be somewhere between 150 and 175 so that you're looked at as a quality experience like all these other ones are out there, but maybe you come in a little bit less so that you can be attractional because you're a new league in the area. or something like that. So it's really up to the church. What are their expenses around facilities, referees? It's all the same conversation any other recreation league would be having out there, and the products that they are providing as part of that experience. But we have some leagues that it could be as low as $40-$50 as a registration fee, and we have some that are $250 as an example. So it really is a wide spectrum there.
Just like every rec league in the country. So, Travis, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to you more about this. I thought this was such an interesting business model. I thought it was such an interesting strategy you guys have. There's really no one that I can think off the top of my head that mixes faith with sports, with community, and all that. So I think what you guys are doing is really, really cool. We wish you the best of luck, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm uh, super impressed with what you guys are doing as an organization. Our whole leadership team reviews your emails on a weekly basis, and I was really pleased to be able to come to the conference recently.
I guess we have to get you in a newsletter then.